Okay, so multidisciplinary approaches, we have obviously earth sciences. We have scientists out there that are showing pollutants are traveling, right? With meteorologists, you can get radiation in clouds and it can travel, geologists, physicists, and chemists. And then key public health professionals are showing, through food and safety, sanitation, radiation, industrial hygienists, that we have these problems with pollution and they're affecting our health. So climate change is actually a really significant and emerging problem with public health, and it changes the way we have to look at protecting vulnerable populations. So, one thing is, there's a lot of political argument on climate change, but the point is we have more natural weather related issues, more problems with heat, more problem with extreme cold, and that's going to affect vulnerable populations, as well as our ability to kill allergens, because we don't have extreme freezings at some winters, and so we have rougher summers. And it also is affecting our food growth. So the nurse's main role is mitigation, obviously working at the individual, community, and institutional governmental level to ensure energy conserving policies and practices. And then our response, we have to be prepared for increased fire and storm related disasters. So think about what happened with Harvey. We needed to mobilize thousands of nurses to go and help. The same in the Caribbean. So environmental health assessments, risks can be categorized as follows, like the medium. So is it through air, water, soil, food? We get outbreaks of Hep A in certain foods. So that's biological, right? It's a virus. Or do we have high amounts of chemicals like lead in our water? Or radiological, do we have high rates of radiation in the air because there was a nuclear reactor accident? Setting is, so looking at environmental issues in the urban, rural, or suburban. And then functional location, is it a problem that's pervasive just in a workplace? So maybe those who worked at like Fernald Nuclear, was a huge environmental health issue. Those who work or go to a school where it's violent. I mean, think about gun violence is a health problem, the home or the community. So information sources, we look at, you can look at the National Library of Medicine, something called Toxtown, and that's household products page and environmental page, and I'll show you how we get to it. So let me open this up a little more. So this is the NLM, so the National Library of Medicine, and you can look and see just the different issues in neighborhoods. If you want, you can go and look at neighborhoods, and you can look in cities. And it talks about the different risk depending on where you are. So we'll look at brownfield. What are brownfields? So brownfields are real property, the expansion, redevelopment, or reuse of which may be complicated by the presence of hazardous substance, pollutants, or contaminants. This definition is from the Brownfields Revitalization and Economic Restoration Act. Brownfield site is a property that was once used for commercial or industrial purposes, but now is targeted for redevelopment. So maybe they want to use it as a restaurant, or there's a lot of old factories that they're converting into homes, and they need to be cleaned up and determined safe before they can be reused. And you can look at different neighborhoods. So hold on. So we look at the cities. Here are all the different areas. Brownfield. And here are chemicals in cities. Are these chemicals in my community? And you can look these things up in your health website. And they actually have maps. So I live in Cincinnati. I'm going to show you. Give you 45217. That's the area I work. So St. Bernard's very industrial. probably my dad's company that's showing all the different issues here. And so this talks about the different chemical sites that are there. So this is a really good website to look at, and it can show you where there are problems. And you can look at facilities and trends. So this is really helpful for epidemiology. Say you wanted to look at drinking water. So we talked about what happened in Flint, Michigan. So drinking water mapping applications. Locate potential sources of contamination, which you could do through the EPA. So it's really cool, and they geomap all this. So let's look at a zip code, 45225. So that is the city of Cincinnati. And I don't see, I guess it doesn't point out any places, so that's good, right? Show more result info. So anyway, that is that aspect of Talkstown. Woohoo! We learned a lot, team. All right. SAVE Cosmetic Database Right to Know. That's American Nurses Environmental Health Principle that recommends access to all information necessary to make informed decisions to protect our health. So looking at, the lotions that we recommend for kids, the sunscreen that we put on our children, those are all really important aspects to look at. So applying the nursing process to environmental health. Note the environmental aspect of the problem in every step of the process. Assessment, planning, intervention, evaluation. So the use of eye prepare mnemonic device. So investigate potential exposure. Is it present at work or in the residence? What other environmental concerns are there? Where did you used to work? What kind of activities do you participate in? Are you, do you like to go geomining or geocaching? Are you going to places that are risky? Referrals and resources, and educate. So what does the first letter E found in the eye prepare mnemonic device stand for? Exposure, educational, environmental concerns, or evidence-based practice. So it's environmental concerns. So community-wide environmental health assessment tools, windshield survey, nature deficit disorder. So let's talk about this.
Today, we're more dependent on technology than ever before. Just think, 10 years ago, we had no Wi-Fi, GPS, or iPods, no Facebook, smartphones, e-readers, or streaming movies. How is all of this technology affecting us? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And more importantly, what would our lives be like if our days and nights were as immersed in nature as they are today in electronics? In the Nature Principle, Richard Louv convincingly argues that the more high-tech we become, the more nature we need. In his research, he discovered a growing body of evidence that a connection to the natural world can boost mental acuity and creativity, promote health and wellness, create smarter, more sustainable businesses, communities, and economies, and ultimately strengthen human bonds. The Nature Principle is about conservation, but it's also about restoring nature while we restore ourselves. It's about the power of living in nature, not with it, but in it. And it's a book about people that are creating that world in their daily lives and beyond. And more importantly, about how you can too.